This video is a continuation of the White Book series. Before I had mentioned the Zen of Tupac.com website. It has evolved into Zen of Makaveli. And recently they created an article, Eazy Chapter 8 verse 10. And I thought the article would be great to read now that this channel has evolved into Bone Thugs and Harmony and other subject matter. The author of the article provided me some of the best information I presented during the White Book series. This is an enjoyable read, and it gives a great insight into the website Zen of Makaveli as well as the Twitter account. So if you enjoy this, definitely check those out. So let's get right into it. Eazy Chapter 8 verse 10. Published August 15, 2017. Something strangely profound surrounds the life and career of Eric Eazy-E Wright. One of the most fascinating avenues of research, in my opinion, is discovering what have been described as synchronicities within memorable events or someone's life story. In certain cases, they accumulate to such a degree, both in number and increased improbability, that they cause even a highly skeptical observer to ponder as to whether or not they were intentionally placed to possibly communicate another hidden message. My first exposure to this phenomenon was from a synchronicity video asking if the Back to the Future movies had predicted 9/11. I personally found the video amazing, and it has been highly influential going forward in my own work. And there's a link to the Back to the Future Predicts 9/11 episode at the top of this particular page. So go to the website. I'll put a link in the description below and watch that Back to the Future Predicts 9/11. If you haven't seen this video, I saw it a while back. It is fantastic. What a great conspiracy theory. Plus, if you look into what the author of the video had made, he throws in a little bit of magic, and that's magic with a K. Stuff that I would not have picked up on had I not read the White Book. Okay, back to the article. The Back to the Future video above could at least be doubled in length without losing much, if any, impact, as many wow synchronicities that didn't make the final cut. Here's an example not in the video. Lightning struck the clock tower at 10:04 p.m., or exactly 116 minutes before midnight. On the page is an illustration of the tower. Falling from the tower, I don't know if that's Doc and Marty falling, or if that's Bill and Ted as an ode to another time travel film. We have the Roman numeral 16 above, a crown, a tower on fire. People jumping out of the buildings may be like the 9/11 people that fell out of the buildings. Who knows, but it's a pretty cool illustration left up to interpretation. Many of the numbers that were used in the Back to the Future trilogy just so happen to be numbers that have divine significance. The first number that the majority of people think of when considering the film is likely 88, as it is required to accelerate to 88 miles per hour in order to trigger the time travel capabilities of the DeLorean. This is a good correspondence to lead us directly back to Eazy-E. Straight Outta Compton was released on August 8th, 1988, or 8/8/88. The album that is almost solely recognized as representing the exact birthplace of so-called gangster rap came to be on 8/8/88. Obviously, the uniqueness of this date jumps out all on its own without me needing to expound further on it. This one side of the coin itself makes for an interesting factoid or piece of trivia. Choosing the 8th of August rather than the 15th or 22nd isn't too remarkable in itself and can be easily attributed to the result of a consciously made decision based on many potential reasonings. However, when you consider the other side of this same coin, you'll likely come to the same realization that I came to myself. There is likely a much bigger meaning to these numbers, and the mystery lies in how the separate parties came to this suddenly connected and perfectly in sync occurrence. Circumstances what they are, however, neither of the parties with the most sway in making this pair of corresponding decisions was around to comment on the direct meaning of the end result. 8 years and 88 days after 8/8/88 brings us to November 5th, 1996. And this day in history brought us to what can be considered the death of so-called gangster rap, with a release almost as synonymous with the end as Straight Outta Compton's representation of The Beginning, Makaveli, The Don Illuminati, The 7-Day Theory, was released 11/5/1996. 8 years and 88 days, 2 months plus 28 days after 8/8/88 and the release of Straight Outta Compton. At this point in the article, we are presented with Zen of Makaveli's trusty date calendar calculator, days between dates. November 5th, 1996, August 8th, 1988, that was a Monday, to Tuesday, November 5th, 1996 was 8 years, 2 months, and 28 days. Until Tupac landed at death row in late 1995, there wasn't much surface history between the founding members of NWA and Tupac Shakur. These two entities finally linked up briefly in 95-96 as Tupac and Dr. Dre were highly anticipated yet short-lived label mates. Prior to this period, Tupac and Eazy-E actually did cross paths in a meaningful way for a short while, but it wasn't something heavily publicized at the time. This was due to Eazy using Tretch from Naughty by Nature in a writing capacity for some of Eazy's EP 5150, Home for the Sick. And this brought Tupac along due to his close affiliation with Tretch. Tupac may have very well been the actual facilitator of that working relationship. The 8/8/88 and 8 years and 88 days later fact is one that I like a lot, as even the most staunchly pessimistic observer would be hard-pressed to find an avenue to dismiss it simply as coincidence. With that as a foundational fact, the more that can be added to further the connection will make the odds of it being a random accidental coincidence astronomical in nature. I generally try my best to create those tough decisions in the mind of the skeptic in my work. Staying with the number 8 for the time being. On Thug Life Volume 1, Track 10, on the song Straight Ballin', Tupac raps.
Shaking the dice, stand roll 'em if you can't stand pain, better hold 'em. 'Cause ain't no telling what you might roll. You might fold, catch AIDS from a slight cold. Nigga, best to live your life to the
Tupac has seemingly described exactly the strange and unlikely circumstances involving the death of Eazy-E in these lyrics. Thug Life Volume 1 was released on September 26, 1994, or 151 days before Eric Wright checked into the hospital for a respiratory infection, only to learn suddenly that he was in the later stages of full-blown AIDS infection. Eazy was taken to the hospital on February 24th, 1995. This is the 55th day of the calendar year. A quick synchronicity sidebar about this date. E is the 5th letter of the English alphabet, so Eazy-E or EE could be seen as 55. The 5th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is He, representing H, which is the 8th in the English alphabet, a cross correspondence to 88. Eazy had two easy visible links to consider when discussing Hebrew-Jewish connections, Jerry Heller and the JDL extortion plot. Returning to the timeline and shedding an even more ominous aspect to the Eazy-E AIDS conspiracy theories, consider this. In 1992, Eazy-E released an EP named 5150, Home for the Sick. This was the release in which Tretch and Tupac were involved creatively. Eazy-E was admitted to Cedars Sinai Medical Center under the alias Eric Lawless. Eazy stayed in room 5105 compared to 5150, Home for the Sick. Note, I came across this hospital room info on one of the official hospital type reports earlier this year. I was and continue to be astonished that no one had recognized this correspondence prior, at least in the way that could be found in many internet searches I conducted. Eazy-E died on March 26, 1995, the 85th day of the year, 55, 88, or a little of both, 85. A few more quick and strange connections between Eazy-E and Tupac. Eazy-E released his debut album, Eazy Does It, on September 13th, 1988, exactly 8 years prior to the alleged death of Tupac Shakur. What? Wow. September 13, 1988, exactly 8 years prior to September 13, 1996. Wow. Eazy Does It released September 13th, 1988. Eric Wright was born on September 7th, 1964. September 7th being the day that Tupac Shakur was shot in Las Vegas in 1996. The year 64 jumps off the page as it corresponds to the hook of Eazy-E and NWA's initial entry into the public awareness, Boys in the Hood, which is often unofficially alternatively titled My 6'4", due to the aforementioned memorable hook, rolling down the street in my 6'4". 8 times 8 equals 64. 8-8. Boys in the Hood was the first track on NWA's lesser-known debut album, NWA and the Posse, released November 6th, 1987. The second track is 8 Ball, to stay present in the synchronicities involving the number 8, but this next synchronicity is much more elaborate. So we see a chart here. Boys in the Hood, track 1 by Eazy-E. And we'll notice a track length of 5:37. I don't know, maybe that's just there by accident. And then the second track is 8 Ball by Eazy-E and MC Ren. NWA and the Posse released exactly 9 years prior to the 7 Day Theory. The 7 Day Theory had a November 5th release compared to NWA's November 6th release, but both were the 310th day of their respective years. Due to 1996 being a leap year, this changed the date by 1 day. 11/6 is 55 days prior to the completion of the year. Another connection to the 7 Day Theory lies embedded in the Boys in the Hood song length 5:37. 53 days after Tupac's death came the 7 Day Theory. 5:37, 53, 7. 310th day of the year, exactly 9 years apart. Add this to the overall odds of the established 8-year and 88-day Straight Outta Compton to 7 Day Theory correspondence, and we are closing in on astronomical. This will take us the rest of the way. Based on NWA and the Posse being 9 years exactly prior to the 7 Day Theory versus Straight Outta Compton, and the 7 Day Theory's 8-year and 88-day offset, I could do some deductive mathematics to see how many days separate NWA's first 2 album releases. 365 days minus 88 days equals 257 days difference. The 257th day of the year in a leap year, such as 1996, is September 13th, which is the day that Tupac found his exit. September 14th is 257th in a non-leap year, and September 14th is the birth date of Nasir Jones, Nas, someone who I plan to write a generous amount about in upcoming articles. Now that I've been able to hopefully make random coincidence an unattractive choice to explain all of this away, I'll wrap this up on this last synchronicity. However, I do also realize something else. The complexities involved also make conscious human decisions an unlikely explanation for this group of correspondences as well. So, what connects all of these synchronicities? Maybe the title of the post, which is taken straight from the name of a song featured on Eazy Does It, can point us in a possible strong direction. Eazy Chapter 8, verse 10, I believe may refer to this, Luke chapter 8, verse 10. Now pay attention here because we're going to compare these two paragraphs. He said, "The knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of God has been given to you, but to others I speak in parables, so that, though seeing, they may not see, though hearing, they may not understand." And compare that to, "'Cause the boys in the hood are always hard. You come talking that trash and we'll pull your card. Knowing nothing in life but to be legit. Don't quote me, boy, 'cause I ain't said shit." Eazy-E, Boys in the Hood. Signed, T.O.R., The author can be followed on Twitter at Zen of Tupac. And what's wonderful about that last part is it tied two questions I had for decades. One, I always wondered what Eazy Chapter 8 verse 10 meant. And then two, I always wondered what the chorus to Boys in the Hood meant. If it really ties to Luke Chapter 8 verse 10, that is of absolute brilliance. I hope this was as enjoyable for you to hear as it was for me to read. Check out Zen of Makaveli on Twitter and zenofmakaveli.com. I love seeing the artwork that just pops up, let alone the exhibits and articles and whatnot. Just the art itself always offers me a smirk each day, how Back to the Future gets tied to Tupac and Nikola Tesla and all kinds of different things. If you're feeling all bent out of shape with the numerology and the coincidences and whatever skepticism you might have, come on, man, lighten up, enjoy life. Enjoy all these dots that could be connected. We're keeping the spirit of both Eazy-E and Tupac alive, as well as the thrill and wonder of Back to the Future. Further, it also applies geniusness to these releases, or a profound divine intervention that connects all of these events and important albums to our lives together. Straight Outta Compton and Makaveli, the 7-Day Theory, were certainly checkpoints on how I view the timeline of my life. I can't help but wonder if that BULLSHIT is an acronym for something. But as I made clear, definitely check out Zen of Makaveli. The author has what we politely call a beautiful mind. He is able to connect dots in ways that would blow your mind. So check it out. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.